Hillary is here too. Oh. Oh, sorry.
Julian Assange! Was ist aus Deutschland Leute gekommen?
Sonntag und Montag.
Das ist eigentlich einfacher, als fürs Wochenende zu kommen.
Einmal zur Erklärung. Wir sind in London, haben uns jetzt eine Stunde lang am Australia House gesammelt und vernetzt. Gehen jetzt gerade zum, ja, gute Frage, Australia Parlament. Ganz vorne geht Herr Shipton voran, der Vater von Julian Assange. Wen wir heute schon gesichtet und interviewt haben, ist Yanis Varoufakis und Craig Murray. Und wenn es heute klappt, auch nochmal Herr Shipton. Und wenn es natürlich noch mehr klappt, dann auch Roger Waters.
Vorhin ist einer von den Nachdenkseiten.
Echt? Moritz?
Ich habe Fall gesehen, meiner ist vor uns.
Wuschelhaken?
Ja, so ein Moritz ist.
Ja. Ja, der war letztes Mal mit uns auch hier. Weißt du, wie der Ort heißt, wie der hier?
Parlament Square.
So, mal vor das Ding hier.
Schon besser als nicht die Journalistin ausgestattet als ich. Oder bist du Journalistin?
Nee, Hobby. Seit einem Jahr irgendwann mal angefangen. Der von Activism Munich, der Typ ist auch hier. Gerade gesehen, der läuft gerade durch den Tunnel vor. Das Geile ist halt, das ist dabei. Das ist mega geil.
Ja, es wird noch viel krasser. Montag, Dienstag ist das Ganze eskaliert gerade mega. Jetzt Melzer auch mit dem Essay bei uns.
Ja.
Er äußert sich auch optimistisch inzwischen.
Echt?
Meinte auch, also es kann schon gut sein, dass wir rauskriegen.
Wow. Ja, wenn er das sagt.
Humanitären Visum nach Genf ist ja so eine gute Lösung. Wann bist du gekommen? Gestern?
Ja. Das war eine Katastrophe gerade. Ja. Bist du geflogen? Ja. Wir waren mit dem Bus 16 Stunden, bis wir wirklich bei Susan angekommen sind. Ich war tot.
Krasse Woche. Melzer hat den Text, glaube ich, 20 Mal noch überarbeitet. Wir hatten Mittwoch Produktionstag, also im Grunde da muss der Text komplett stehen, hat er immer noch Sachen gefunden. Jedes Wort noch gewogen und geschnitten.
So, okay. Ich dachte, diese Bearbeitungen waren von dir oder von irgendeiner Redaktion oder so. Sondern von ihm, also die.
Ja, er hat immer noch am Text, wollte noch was verbessern. Er hat letztendlich auch das Coverfoto festgelegt, also er hat wirklich viel gemacht.
Cool. We work with them together in Germany also, World Socialist website. Here is a meeting on Sunday.
There's a possibility in the French constitution that the president can give asylum in special cases to like people.
Wow.
Yeah, but forget about it. Yeah, but at least they can try it. And he has some French. His wife is French. She's on the French soil, so that could be. Started out of France too, so they had some service in Paris at the beginning. Switzerland could be maybe a little bit more safe.
Yeah.
He isn't really safe anymore.
Von Wikipedia.
Daneben die Westwood. Ah, und Varoufakis auch daneben.
Shut it down! Shut it down!
So, da sind
Shut it down!
die prominenteren Unterstützer. Und zwar der John Shipton, ganz links mit den grauen Haaren und der leichten Glatze. Daneben ist der der Craig Murray, daneben der Hrafnsson von Wikipedia, daneben der Varoufakis.
You're going to be outside Belmarsh on Monday morning, make some noise!
Gehen alle ziemlich flott, ne?
Ja, ist schon zackig.
Free Julian Assange! 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 Free Julian Assange!
So, hier ist Roger Waters.
You did that very nicely. You are. Unfortunately, we're not.
Hey, hello. Look at me. Lots of people. I'll let me turn the camera around a moment. Just walk up. How you doing? All right?
Ja?
Ich habe gesucht, ob du drauf bist, aber ich weiß nicht, ob du nicht drauf bist. Geh doch mal kurz vor, dann mache ich eins mit dir.
Wieder vor.
You should be here. Yeah, I know you should.
So, hier nochmal
It's not only for Julian Assange, but
vom Marsch. Wir sind auf dem Weg zum Parlament Square. Ganz links ist Yanis Varoufakis, daneben Roger Waters. Das will ich gerade. Dann haben wir noch Herr Shipton in der ersten Reihe. Und wer gerade noch dabei war, also auf jeden Fall Craig Murray ist noch dabei. Gerade war aber noch der Hrafnsson von Wikipedia.
Filmst du die ganze Zeit?
Ja.
Der mit dem Zopf ist er.
Man sieht das von der Seite ein bisschen. Wenn der jetzt nicht wäre, wir wären ein Stückchen nach vorne. So, kleines Fotoshooting gemacht.
Willst du jetzt die ganze Zeit mit dem hier aufnehmen?
Nee. Ja, für alle Assange-Unterstützer, aber auch für alle Pink Floyd-Fans ist es natürlich toll, Roger Waters hier zu sehen.
Shame on you! Shame on you! Shame on you! Shame on you!
18 years.
Shame on you!
Share your incomes.
Shame on you! 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 Shame on you!
Why
Shame on you! Now! Now!
They're producing
Now! 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 Free Julian Assange! 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 Now!
Let's sing a song!
No extradition! No extradition!
Nee, einfach bleiben oder was?
Mach zurück, weil es ist
Extradition!
auf, genau, und einfach die rote Taste.
No extradition! No extradition!
Eine Minute oder so.
No extradition! 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 No extradition!
stellen?
Du musst dich ein bisschen größer machen, ne?
They're pushing, darling. They're pushing.
I don't want to push.
You better go right that way. We're not going through. No, no. You go around. Prison for a year for jumping.
War da nicht so ein Ding drauf?
Eins habe ich verloren. Geil.
Ja, geil.
Ich habe aber nicht gesehen, aber mega.
Cool.
Oh, manchmal kriegt das eine Vergrößerung zu Geburtstag.
Kommt kaum durch.
Der rennt aber her bevor, ne? Der will natürlich wahrscheinlich hinter sich haben, weil er von allen Seiten belagert wird.
Julian Assange!
Free Julian Assange!
Parliament Square, make some noise!
Free Julian Assange! Free Julian Assange!
Free Julian Assange! Free Julian Assange! Free Julian Assange! Free Julian Assange! Free Julian Assange! Free Julian Assange! Free Julian Assange!
Careful.
Free Julian Assange! 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 What do we want? Free Julian Assange! When do we want it? Now! What do we want? Free Julian Assange! When do we want it? Now! What do we want? Free Julian Assange! When do we want it? Now! When do we want it? Now! What do we want? Free Julian Assange! When do we want it? Now! What do we want? Free Julian Assange! When do we want it? Now! What do we want? Free Julian Assange! When do we want it? Now! What are you here for?
Sehr gut organisiert. Im Gegensatz zu mir. Ich werde den singen.
Jo, das ist ein Presseausweis dabei, falls einer fragt, ne? Hab ich ja ganz vergessen. Das ist ja geil. Kannst du hier noch ein bisschen nach diesen 3000 Kabel? Kannst du noch um einiges.
You wind that bit and you
I'm the journalist, but shit is camera.
He's a journalist, but it's my equipment, so he don't know it.
What you got there? Your phone?
We are from Germany and Switzerland.
Yeah, this lady's from Brazil.
Brazil. Wow, international today.
Yeah.
Where from?
Brazil.
Me, I'm
So
from...
we have a journalist there, Glenn Greenhouse.
Yeah.
The same situation, almost.
Yeah. We are following this
from
case
South
too.
London. I speak Cockney.
I'm a Greenwald fan since case of Snowden.
Oh. Snowden.
Then I heard his name the first time when this happened with Snowden. Yeah. Are you there Monday also for the Belmarsh protest? Yeah. We are here for the whole week. Sorry? So, liebe Leute, wir sind jetzt angekommen am Parlament Square. Wird sich jetzt ein bisschen vorbereitet und ja, dann geht's gleich los mit der Musik von Roger Waters, mit diversen Ansprachen. Und wir bleiben live.
Ja, oder jemand fragt, ob man das macht. Wobei die fliegt man nur eine halbe Stunde leider. Also muss man auch achten, wenn du auf den Fotoknopf drückst, ne? Sobald die echt loslegen, drückst du auf Rot. Dann läuft die Zeit nach rechts nur eine halbe Stunde. Das heißt, sobald es ausgeht, musst du sofort wieder neu machen.
Es ist etwas windig heute, deswegen ein bisschen wackelig, aber man erkennt ja trotzdem alles.
Und den Rest habe ich ja hier komplett drauf. Ich glaube, da kann auch raussteigen, ne? Oder?
Wenn du willst, wir können das an ein paar Sender schicken.
Gerne, klar.
Hast du Equipment hier, was du spielen kannst?
Ich habe keinen Laptop hier. Ich kann aber, also ich habe eine App hier drauf, wo ich die beiden verbinden kann. Das bedeutet, ich kann alles von hier so gut aufs Handy laden. Also ich könnte es hier zum Beispiel direkt schicken, aber E-Mail ist natürlich zu hoch. Das heißt, was geil, wenn du hier einen Stick in die App hast, einen Stick dabei. Ja, okay. Bei Susan zu Hause kann ich das auf jeden Fall alles überschieben. Also das nicht, weil es in der
Hallo, hallo.
Ja, die nutzen wir leider nicht so. Wir haben eine Facebook-Seite.
Welcome to Parliament Square. Thank you very much for turning out today. The most important political trial of this century is about to begin in Belmarsh Court next week. And I thank you all for sending a message very, very clearly to this government and to the judge in that court. Do not extradite Julian Assange. Now we've got a fantastic lineup of speakers for you today. People who've been fighting for Julian Assange since the very beginning. But first of all, I'm going to bring to the stage, introduce you to Sweta Chowdhury, who's going to be the chair of this event. Thank you very much.
Hello, Parliament Square! It's my privilege to welcome our first speaker, who is Julian Assange's father, John Shipton. He has been campaigning tirelessly for his son for many years, and he has endured what no father should have ever endured. So please, please, please give a huge welcome to John Shipton.
Friends, I look over the crowd here and see many familiar faces in the press and the people who are supporting Julian today, so thank you. Julian, we've taken upon ourselves a noble task.
Louder!
We've taken upon ourselves a noble task which falls into two parts. First, to free Julian from the Niagara of malice that emanates from the Crown Prosecuting Service. Also, to allow ourselves to have a free press wherein we can draw upon information to exchange with us, our friends and family, enable us to make proper and good decisions on our own behalf, our friends' behalf and our family's behalf. All Julian's family, it's grown to an extended family from the affections that we receive from you, will be here for the for the extradition hearing tomorrow, so you'll get to meet them. So Julian and I, a couple of years ago, at Christmas time, we speculated that if we'd join together and go on the Camino de Santiago, the walk of St. James, in starting in the Pyrenees and ending up in Santiago. Well, Julian couldn't wait for me, so he's embarked upon the walk, and each day he traverses the length of his prison cell to accumulate the number of steps between the recognised parts on the Camino de Santiago. The rest of the time spent reviewing as possible his evidence and meditating to keep the spirit calm. So I bring to you his affection, his nobility of purpose, and his strength of character after 9 years, well now it's 10. I don't really understand why Julian is in jail here. The 10 days in Wandsworth prison of solitary confinement back in 2010 were arbitrary detention. The 7.5 years in the embassy, the Ecuadorian embassy, as an asylee, were arbitrary detention. This was brought before us by the Working Group on the United Nations on arbitrary detention. The United Kingdom, in their wisdom, had tried to defeat this, but their project was rejected, and the Working Group issued another statement of support last year. Nils Melzer, the rapporteur, UN rapporteur, United Nations rapporteur on torture, that's on torture, released his report saying that Julian had undergone years of psychological torture, increasing in intensity, until the year before Julian left the embassy. Every single moment of his life, of meetings with lawyers, sitting at the table having dinner with me, was recorded both in video and sound. This is appalling. The UN rapporteur on torture, in his report, pointed out that this should not happen. This is against the law. Every single human right of Julian's has been arbitrarily broken. Distortions of procedure, falsification of witness statements, the lot, the whole rotten lot of it. We believe that your presence, the presence of the observers, and your strength of will buoy us up to make it plain to the Crown Prosecuting Service that extradition best be dropped now. Thank you very much.
Thank you, John. We now have Deepa Govindarajan Driver, a trade unionist, who's here to say a few words about a letter to Boris Johnson about Julian Assange. Deepa.
Nee. Ja.
I'm here to share a letter on behalf of international jurists from countries as far-flung as Iceland to Australia, Malaysia through to the United Kingdom, the United States, many different parts of the world, France, Germany, and we are here to, the jurists wish to protest and condemn the involvement of the United Kingdom in the long-term severe psychological torture of Julian Assange. They condemn the disregard shown by the British authorities towards British and international law. They condemn the disregard of British authorities towards Mr. Assange's right to a fair and free trial and his right to freedom of speech. And they are deeply worried about the sweeping, extraordinary, extraterritorial claims made by the United States, who are seeking to prosecute in the US under US law without First Amendment protections non-US citizens for activities undertaken in jurisdictions where such conduct might even be legal. So I'm here on behalf of them to say to you, we welcome other international jurists joining, people like Eva Joly, Julian Barnes, sorry, can you hear me? Signatories include Eva Joly, Julian Barnes, Lisa Longstaff, Thomas Peru, Diane Roman, Philippe Tuxier, Craig Tack, Mara Verheyden Hilliard, and others. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Deepa. Our next speaker is Tim Dawson from the National Union of Journalists. Tim.
Thank you very much. What a fantastic sight this is. How brilliant to see so many people. A little while ago, I attended a demonstration outside Belmarsh prison. I don't know how many of you have been there, but it is a thoroughly miserable place from the outside. And the wind howled and the rain came down, and perhaps there were 30 of us there protesting about Julian Assange's incarceration. And I confess, despite the kind of inbuilt optimism I have as a British trades unionist of the past 3 or 4 decades, I couldn't help but feel a bit gloomy that there weren't more people there. What a delight to see that everybody was waiting for slightly better weather and improved transport links. Thank you all so much for being here. This begins to feel like a movement. I'm here today representing the National Union of Journalists in Britain and Ireland and the International Federation of Journalists, which represents 600,000 journalists from around the world. And our need to speak out is because of the profound danger to free speech that this extradition represents. There is much to be frightened about in respect of free speech in this country at the moment. Government ministers feel able to ignore mainstream political programmes which want to ask them questions about the decisions they're making on our behalf. The Prime Minister feels that it's acceptable to decide which journalists he wants to have at official civil service briefings. There's talk of a new Official Secrets Act. There is bullying talk towards the BBC about its future funding. But at the pinnacle of these threats to free speech is the threat to extradite Julian Assange to the United States of America, where he might serve 175 years in prison for publishing the truth. I'm aware that there are people who feel uncomfortable lending their support to Julian Assange. There are people who remain concerned about things that happened in Sweden, or about where the data came from, or about whether all this is part of some geopolitical game. I say at this moment those concerns are no longer relevant. All that matters is the risk that a foreign power could snatch somebody from this country and subject them to a legal system that has within its provisions that are more like those of a medieval state than a modern state. The message that we need to send out with clear voice to the judiciary and to our government is that if you believe that due process underpins justice, don't extradite Assange. If you believe that we have a right to know about military actions undertaken in our name, don't extradite Assange. If you believe the UN Special Rapporteur on Torture, that there is someone in Belmarsh prison who has been subjected to psychological torture, then do not extradite Assange. If you believe the opinion of more than 60 doctors who say that the health of the founder of WikiLeaks should be a greater concern than the bizarre legal instruments being used to try and take him to the United States, then don't extradite Assange. And if you believe that a judicial snatch squad is an anathema to free expression and a free press, then don't extradite Assange. I know that we live in quite dark times. We have a dishonest Prime Minister, we have an impending economic crisis, but I also know that the power of protest can make a difference. It was his fellow inmates in Belmarsh who took a petition to the governor there saying that they believed that Julian Assange's treatment was inhuman and demanding that he be taken out of solitary confinement. If they can do it, then so can we. Keep up the pressure, keep up the protests, and if we do, justice will prevail.
Thank you, Tim. Our next speaker is one of the most successful fashion designers in the world and a leading name in the global fashion industry. She's well known for her political activism and her support for Julian Assange's freedom. Comrades, please welcome Vivienne Westwood.
It's too high. As low as possible, please. That's better. Okay. And I should stand back. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Okay. So I am Vivienne, Angel of Democracy. This is the most important case in history, in human history, in the history of the animals and all the life forces on this planet. If we can get Julian out, it can crack the wall of corruption, and we can ask for all the other things we need to save the planet from mass extinction and death of the planet. He is the Trojan horse. We need to break that wall for justice. Okay? So, this case is the scales of justice. On one side is democracy, and on the other is totalitarianism. Julian Assange was illegally dragged from the Ecuadorian embassy. As John Pilger says, imagine if Tony Blair had been pulled out of there. That would have been a good idea. And locked up in solitary confinement in Belmarsh top security prison. At this point, the media began to recognise that Julian is a victim of illegal abuse sanctioned by government. It is not a crime to publish American war crimes. It is in the public interest. Corbyn is clear. Don't extradite. I feel worried about Boris Johnson, who is an icon of irresponsibility. He takes no notice of anybody and listens only to his demon, who farts out of his arse.
And I'm frightened that he will just bluff his way out of ever making any decision or comment, just as he always does and never listens to people. Corbyn is pro-democracy. The US wants to rule a totalitarian world. Right now, the government of America, for the government of America, people are the enemy.
Ja.
Free Assange, rock and roll.
Thank you, Vivienne. Our next speaker today is one of Iceland's leading investigative journalists who has been named Icelandic Journalist of the Year 3 times by the National Union of Journalists in Iceland. He's also the editor-in-chief of WikiLeaks. Comrades, please welcome Kristinn Hrafnsson.
Hello London, thanks for being here today. It's so important, it's so good to see you out here, all of you. We are going to win this fight. Remember, when the Spanish company that was hired to oversee the security of Julian Assange decided to turn on him and spying on him instead, the relationship he had with his doctors and lawyers, all was monitored, all was gathered, all was sent to the United States. This was paid for by the biggest financial backer of the Republican Party, Donald Trump, and now Mike Pompeo. Spying on Assange. And the staff of the company knew exactly who they were working for, where the material would go to. It would go to the CIA. In internal emails, they said, we are now working for the dark force. And that is exactly what we're dealing with today. We're dealing with the dark force. We're dealing with the dark force that is growing in its power and its overreach. It's a dark force that decides that they can assassinate people, high-level officials in foreign countries, with drone attacks. It's a dark force who kills children in war zones. It's a dark force that with impunity assassinate Reuters journalists, as we exposed in the collateral murder video. It's a dark force that now wants Julian extradited to the United States and thrown in a cell to spend the rest of his days there. We must stop it. We must stop this force. This is not about left or right in politics. We can unite on this. It's a dark force versus us who want justice, transparency, accountability, and truth. We have the momentum with us. Please tell everybody that you know that they have to side with Assange and fight against the extradition. If they tell you, I would rather fight for the environment or against animal cruelty or gender equality, tell them they are about to take every right away from you. You will not be able to fight for any other cause. We are talking about the fundamentals here. We must fight against the extradition. We must save Julian Assange.
Thank you, Kristinn. It's my absolute privilege to introduce you to our next speaker, the legendary frontman and co-founder of Pink Floyd, Roger Waters.
Wow. Look at you all. I've actually written some things down, which I've never done before in my life, but I'm taking this very seriously. So but it's fantastic to see you guys all here today. I feel a real strength and warmth coming from everybody in this little gathering here. And it was a huge honour to walk down the Strand and down Whitehall with you all. So thank you for giving me that opportunity. I know we're here for Julian Assange. All right, bear with me. I've got some names on this piece of paper, people to whom I wish to refer. The first, of course, is Julian Assange himself, a journalist, a courageous shiner of light into the dark places from which the powers that be would dearly like to have us turn away. Julian Assange, a name to be carved with pride into any monument to human progress. Julian is why we are here today, but this is no parochial project. We are today part of a global movement that might be the beginning of the global enlightenment that this fragile planet so desperately needs. Okay, second name, sent to me by my good friend Vijay Prashad. I was just talking to Tariq Ali down here, who's also a good friend of Vijay's. Anyway, this is a young man none of us know. His name is, I suspect, his name is Amir Aziz, and he is a young poet and activist in Delhi. He's involved in the fight against Modi and his fascist, racist citizenship law. I'll read a little bit of one of his poems. Amir says, "Everything will be remembered. Kill us, we will become ghosts and write of your killings, with all the evidence. You write jokes in court, we will write justice on the walls. We will speak so loudly that even the deaf will hear. We will write so clearly that even the blind will read. You write injustice on the earth. We will write revolution in the sky." I think this kid's got a future. Anyway, can I have a sip of water? Thank you. Take this outpouring of the human spirit from India is taking place in a time of revolt, when the fetters of propriety are set aside. Thank you so much. Christ, it looks like it's going to bite my nose. Wow. Okay. Also, as we meet here in London, across the Atlantic in Argentina, thousands of women are taking to the streets to demand the legalization of abortion from President Fernandez. More power to them. It's not just Argentina. This last year, we've seen major protests erupt across the whole world against the neoliberal fascist regimes. In Chile, in the Lebanon, Colombia, Ecuador, Haiti, France, and now of course also in Bolivia, fighting the new US-imposed military dictatorship there. When will we see the name of England appended to that noble list? I sense the scratching of heads in drawing rooms across the home counties. What's he talking about? The man's a bloody pig-tailed pervert. Bloody anti-Semite. What's he talking about? We don't live in a dictatorship. This is a free country, a democracy, with all the finest traditions of fair play. Well, I've got news for you, disgruntled of Tunbridge Wells. We like to think this is a free country, but are we really free? Why? When Julian Assange is brought to the dock in the tiny magistrates' court inside Belmarsh prison, There are so many seats occupied by anonymous American suits, whispering instructions into the attentive ear of the prosecution's lead barrister, James Lewis, QC. Why? Because we don't live in a free country. We live in a glorified dog kennel. And we bark and or wag our tails at the bidding of our lords and masters across the pond. What? Well, hang on, I've only just started. I'll read a bit more. By popular demand. I stand here today in front of the Mother of Parliaments, and there she stands, blushing in all her embarrassment. And just upstream from here is, anyway, there's all kinds of stuff about Runnymede and Magna Carta and habeas corpus and blah, 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 blah. And then the next page starts off. We do, however, have an extradition treaty with the USA in the first paragraph of Article 4, blah, 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 political act, blah, 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 blah. Okay, this bit's more entertaining. Yesterday, in front of Battersea Power Station with my pig, I did a tea interview for Sky News to promote this event. There was no visual link, so my only contact with the lady asking me questions was via an earbud on a curly wire. I learned something about telling truth in the phrasing of her questions to me. She came at me like some crazed Don Quixote, every question laced thick with the smears and innuendo and the false accusations with which the powers that be have been trying to blacken Julian Assange's name. She rattled off the tired but well-prepared narrative and then interrupted constantly when I made reply. I don't know who she is. She may mean well. If she does, my advice to her would be to stop drinking the Kool-Aid, and if she actually gives a fig for her chosen profession, get her sorry ass down here and join us. I've nearly finished. Okay. So, England. I call upon our Prime Minister, Boris Johnson, to declare his colours. Does he support the spirit of Magna Carta? Democracy, freedom, fair play, free speech, and especially the freedom of the press? If the answer to these questions is yes, then come on, Prime Minister!
Let's support them!
Be the British bulldog that you would have us all believe you are. Stand up to the bluster of American hegemony. Call off this show trial, this charade, this kangaroo court. The evidence before the court is incontrovertible. Julian Assange is an innocent man.